100 years ago, Meriwether Lewis and his co-captain William Clark were on their great adventure to explore the American West. On this journey, they discovered 176 plants that were new to science at that time. In fact, right now in Philadelphia at the Academy of Natural Sciences, they still have the original herbarium specimens that Lewis and Clark collected, and they're in really good shape. Well, we decided to create a Lewis and Clark theme garden here at our studio this year, and I'd just like to show you some of those 176 plants that we've got collected here for this garden. Now, there is the genus Clarkia. There's also the genus Lewisi, plants named after Lewis and Clark because they were discovered by them. But some of these other plants include this Gaillardia that we've got right here, one of the Indian blankets. Now, this is not the one we have native in Oklahoma. This one is Gaillardia aristata, and it's native to western and northern states and is used a lot in Gaillardia breeding programs to add some winter hardiness. A lot of the times breeders will take this Gaillardia in our native annual species, Gaillardia pulchella, which is our state wildflower. They will cross them and come up with other Gaillardia plants like goblin, maybe you're familiar with. We have goblin down in our rock garden, and it is a hybrid of these two plants. Because some of these Gaillardias are a cross between a perennial and an annual species, they're not overly long-lived in the garden, but nonetheless a beautiful Gaillardia species that you might want to try. Right here we have the Coyote Willow, discovered by Lewis and Clark. This is sometimes known as sandbar willow. We do have it growing wild in the western part of Oklahoma. We also see it growing along portions of the Arkansas River over in more eastern parts of the state. But it is a smaller willow. It does grow in wet areas, sandbars, long riverbanks, things like that. But it is a plant that is also drought tolerant. And I love the blue-green color of the foliage of the coyote willow. They discovered a species of wild rose. This is the Arkansas rose, Rosa arkansana. And not blooming right now, but a nice native rose discovered on the journey by Lewis and Clark. And this is another plant they discovered that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, blooming around our state right now. This is snow on the mountain, Euphorbia marginata. And if you've ever wondered how the plant gets its name, if you can imagine the green part of this bract as the peak of a mountain, looks like it has a good layer of snow on the top of it, that white margin, sort of giving it that snow on the mountain look. But this is a plant that it's native here in Oklahoma and is very attractive in the garden, I think. There are a lot of seed catalogs, a lot of botanical gardens around the world include this plant in their collection. I think it's just a very attractive plant. It is a euphorbia, meaning it has sap in the stems, and if I tear the leaf here, maybe you can see some of that white milky sap starting to ooze out. For this reason, some people may be allergic to that white latex type material. But very attractive annual plant, snow on the mountain, discovered by Lewis and Clark up in the Yellowstone River area of Montana. Right back here we've got a native western shrub that was discovered by Lewis and Clark. And this is known as the western mock orange, or Philadelphus lewisii. So a plant actually named for Lewis. Now right over here we've got a sumac Lewis and Clark collected. This is the aromatic sumac, or Rhus aromatica variety, trilobata. And the leaves sort of look like poison ivy leaves a little bit, but not quite. This is again, a low-growing western species of sumac that has a brilliant red or orange fall color. Now right down here it looks like we've got some weeds in our garden. This greenish foliage plant here, this is a type of Artemisia. This is Artemisia ludoviciana. It has a very strong aroma if you bump into it, but we see it in sort of a green form and sometimes more of a silvery form depending on how much pubescence it has. But Artemisia ludoviciana, meaning of Louisiana. Louisiana wormwood is another of its common names. Now there are some hybridized varieties or selections of this plant. This is Artemisia valerifinus. This is a selection that was made of this native white sage or Louisiana wormwood, but is available in garden centers, a little more silvery foliage and a nicer plant. Right up here we have another plant that was named for Lewis. This is a blue flax known as Linum lewisii or Lewis flax. Attractive small foliage and these little pale blue flowers on this Lewis flax. This is a good plant to get established in your garden by seed, and once you kind of get those seed producing, they will have a few plants coming back for you every year. Now there are a couple other plants that I'm sure you're most likely very familiar with that Lewis and Clark discovered. The ponderosa pine, one of our tall western pine species, was a plant they collected. And then another plant, an Oklahoma native, the Osage orange or bodark tree, produces these weird looking bumpy fruits, was also a plant discovered on the journey by Lewis and Clark. Well, a lot of the seeds that we got to plant plants in this garden came from the Thomas Jefferson Center for Historic Plants. And you can actually go to their website or get one of their catalogs and order some of these historic plants, and you can even get a sampler of Lewis and Clark seeds. That's where we got a lot of the seeds for this garden. So you too could plant your own commemorative Lewis and Clark garden.